It all started with a message that hit me like a punch to the chest. Already have a boyfriend. Don't bother me. Delete each other. Thanks. My first thought? Zoe must have stumbled upon another one of those ridiculous online boyfriend tests. Smirking, I sent her a teasing reply, thinking I was clever. Then I saw the red exclamation mark. My stomach sank. I called her immediately. Blocked. Just like that. I couldn't just sit there. My pulse racing. I grabbed her favorite Wellington steak. Earlier, she had told me she had a last-minute meeting and couldn't have dinner. I'd already reached a Western restaurant, prepared to meet her despite her schedule. I understood her workload was insane. Big deals, tight deadlines, endless meetings. It was her life, but I wanted to be there. With the steak still warm in my hands, I got another WeChat from her, expecting a change of plans. I opened it eagerly. Same message. Already have a boyfriend. Don't bother me. Delete each other. Thanks. 3 imaginary black lines appeared across my forehead. What was she playing at now? Surely, another online test your boyfriend challenge. I decided to play along, replying with light teasing. Then the red exclamation mark. My call went unanswered. Blocked again. Panic surged. I grabbed the steak and rushed to her office. At the front desk, a man stopped me. Who are you? He asked, wary. Everyone at the Moo Group knew me. Clearly, this was a newcomer. Then I noticed the phone in his hand. Zoe's phone. Why do you have Zoe Moo's phone? I asked, stepping closer. He lifted his chin smugly. I'm her boyfriend. Of course her phone is with me. My jaw tightened. My hands itched to snatch it back. But then Zoe appeared. Her voice sharp and furious. Cut through the lobby. Gabriel, what did you send for my phone? Her gaze landed on me, softening for a split second, before snapping back to Gabriel. Who gave you the right to touch my phone? Gabriel's shoulders slumped. His hands shook as he held out her phone, pitiful and embarrassed. Zoe snatched it from him and opened the blocklist. My eyes widened. Male CEOs, project managers, everyone of them blocked in one swift move. Zoe's hands trembled slightly. She had built her empire from scratch, every deal fought for with sweat and blood. And now, this reckless man had disrupted it all. Help me? Gabriel mumbled. But Zoe's glare could have frozen the sun. Help me go bankrupt? She shot back, furious. Calls started flooding in. Every person on her block list tried to reach her, asking questions politely but with a sharp undertone of suspicion. Some even hinted they might check my phone. I gave Gabriel a piercing look and turned back to Zoe. Handle this immediately, I said, my voice tense. Thankfully, respect for the Marco name and Zoe's own competence saved the day. Everyone understood once they knew the phone had been misused. Even so, the shadow of today lingered. Zoe had been on my side, but she still hadn't explained what had happened. I took a deep breath, forcing down my anger, and returned to the lobby. To my surprise, 2 police officers were now standing there. Zoe frowned, speaking angrily to them, while Gabriel trembled beside her. In that moment, I realized this wasn't just a misunderstanding. Something much bigger was at play. Gabriel's humiliation was palpable. He swayed slightly, pitiful, his confidence shattered by Zoe's fury. She didn't hesitate. Swiftly, she snatched her phone from his hands and navigated to the block list. My curiosity got the better of me. I leaned in and saw it. Besides me, there were several other male contacts. CEOs, project managers, all blocked. Her hands trembled, fury mixing with exhaustion. Every blocked contact represented a deal, a business relationship she had fought tooth and nail to build. And now it seemed like all her effort had been trivialized in one clumsy act. Gabriel, what gives you the right to touch my phone? She demanded, voice echoing through the office. Department heads poked their heads out, sensing the drama. Gabriel's face went pale, his posture shrinking under her gaze. I was just trying to help, he stammered. Help me? Zoe's voice dripped with incredulity. You mean help me go bankrupt? My phone began ringing incessantly. CEOs, clients, partners, all people Zoe had blocked, were now calling me, confused. Try to understand the chaos. I shot Gabriel a sharp look, then turned to Zoe. Take care of this, I said, stepping aside. Respect for our family name and Zoe's competence kept the situation under control. Once everyone understood that her phone had been misused, the tension eased. But still, the unanswered question remained. Why today? Why this elaborate mess? I exhaled slowly, forcing myself to calm down. In the lobby, the sight of two police officers talking to Zoe and the trembling Gabriel confirmed one thing. This day was far from over. Gabriel stood there, staring at Zoe in disbelief. Zoe, you called the police on me? His voice trembled. When she didn't even glance at him, he turned to the two officers. Officer, we're friends. I was just joking. We have a great relationship. You can't arrest me. The officer stepped back, eyes wary, and spoke with patient firmness. Sir, this isn't a joke. You used this lady's phone without permission and caused actual harm. We're not friends, and there's no joking here, Zoe added coldly, her gaze sharp as a blade. He's just an employee. Officers, please investigate. I suspect he came here to sabotage my company. Gabriel went pale, his lips quivering as he looked at her. Words caught in his throat, trapped behind a mask of desperation. Seeing Zoe walk past him to speak to me about our contacts, he finally broke. Zoe, I just think you're not the same as before. Now that you have a boyfriend, you should keep your distance from the men in your contacts. I was only trying to help. A single tear slid down his cheek, just enough to seem heartbreakingly sincere, not pathetic. But Zoe didn't even notice. Her anger burned too bright. My contacts are none of your business. And the first person you blocked? My boyfriend. You weren't trying to help me. You were hoping I'd end up alone. Her finger jabbed at one of the block profiles. President Gene? He's the same age as my father. Should he be kept at a distance too? Her tone hardened. I'm your boss. You do what I tell you. If I don't instruct you, you don't act. That's the rule. Do you not even have this basic level of professional conduct? Turning to the officers, she continued, my phone contains trade secrets. This new employee stole it, putting my company's assets at risk. I want a thorough investigation. I stood there, stunned. I had come expecting to catch a cheating partner, but instead, I was witnessing a self-deluded, pretentious coquette in action. Chapter 3, I hadn't anticipated that Zoe would call the police herself. Somehow, that alone reassured me. Her loyalty to me was clear. But then Gabriel suddenly broke free from the officers and pointed at me, anger and confusion flashing in his eyes. And what about him? Why is he allowed in the office? Why must you distance yourself from me just because you have a boyfriend, yet protect him at every turn? Did you hit your head in the door? Zoe snapped impatiently. Can't you see he's my boyfriend? Don't you recognize the word husband I put in his contact name? Stop playing mind games. Gabriel shrank behind the officers, clearly terrified now. The police seemed to understand the situation, but the fact remained, his actions had caused Zoe real damage. They asked if the matter could be resolved privately, but Zoe refused outright. No way. Sending that kind of message to my husband? What? So I end up single. Not happening. Because Zoe insisted, Gabriel was taken away. Before leaving, he tugged pitifully at his suit jacket. Zoe, I'm cold. Can I borrow this jacket? She looked at him flatly. It's not mine. At that moment, the design director emerged, finally breaking his silence. It's mine. It was just sitting next to President Moo. You must have picked it up by mistake. Better give it back. I'm cold too. Gabriel froze, then yanked the jacket and threw it into the director's arms before shooting me a venomous glare and leaving with the police. Watching him go, I couldn't help but smirk. A pretentious coquette, sent off in disgrace, all by his own foolishness. Later, Zoe explained the whole story. Gabriel was her childhood neighbor. 10 years ago, their families moved north and only recently returned. They had reconnected when her family welcomed them back, and Zoe, remembering he was still job hunting, arranged a position for him at her company. She had almost forgotten he existed. Who could have predicted that on his very first day, He'd try something this absurd. Chapter, I muttered under my breath. What is this? Some childhood sweetheart drama. Zoe pretended to gag. I've never met a more manipulative, shameless childhood friend. He always caused trouble, acted pitiful, and dumped the blame on me. And in the end, he'd still look wronged and say, it's all my fault. She shuddered, as if shaking off the memory. I never want anything to do with him again. If it weren't for my dad insisting, he wouldn't have set foot in the company at all. Though Gabriel ended up at the police station, he wasn't punished. Crying to Mr. Moo, Zoe's father, he endured a scolding and eventually settled privately with Zoe. By nightfall, he walked out of the station. I thought the incident would finally teach him a lesson. His stunt had been far too ridiculous to continue. Yet, to my surprise, not long after, he added me on WeChat through Zoe's own shared contact card, no less. I accepted, bracing myself for the next chapter of this absurd childhood drama gone corporate. He sent me a photo, a large, round dining table filled with people, the chatter of a family gathering frozen in a single frame. The only faces I recognized were Zoe and her parents. Zoe sat gracefully, smiling as she carefully placed food into someone else's bowl, gentle and attentive as always. Marco, you don't actually think Zoe likes you, do you? Gabriel's voice came through, smug and possessive. She's always like me. Today, we're meeting our parents to discuss the wedding date. I didn't believe a word, not after the chaos that had unfolded before. If I hadn't rushed over immediately and Zoe hadn't called the police, that previous incident could have left a permanent scar on our relationship. But this time, seeing the photo, I felt none of that anger. Instead, I called Zoe casually. She didn't pick up right away. Probably needed a quiet spot. Finally, her voice came through. Marco, what's up? Cheerful, almost carefree. Where are you? I asked. At Baiwa, having dinner with my parents. Gabriel's here too. Both families are eating together today. Her tone was natural, with not a hint of guilt. I stayed silent for a moment, then sent her a screenshot of photo and Gabriel's message. Is he out of his mind? He's not even next to me. My niece is the one beside me. Zoe sounded annoyed but firm. Hang up and wait. Moments later, another screenshot arrived from her niece's WeChat moments. 2 photos, both confirming the scene. Marco, you need to come over. We have to clear this up today. Gabriel's a total lunatic. I hesitated. Wouldn't it be awkward if I showed up at a family gathering for both your families? What's awkward about it, she said, her voice growing determined. My parents adore you. If we don't settle this face-to-face, Gabriel's constant interference will affect our relationship. You have to come. I'll send the driver. Thinking about her words, about finally clearing this up, I changed clothes and headed to Baiwa. 20 minutes later, I arrived and saw Zoe waiting at the door. She still looked upset, so I walked over and patted her shoulder reassuringly. Good thing you came. If you pulled a silent stunt like those male leads in novels, what would I have done? She said, half exasperated, half amused. I rubbed my forehead. This was my fault. Early in our relationship, I had worried she couldn't distinguish a pretentious coquette from a true friend, so I sent her countless Yahoo articles on the topic. Later, I realized she had known all along, but she simply didn't care. Her focus was on making sure I never felt wronged. We stepped into their private dining room. Laughter and conversation filled the air. Seeing me, Mr. and Mrs. Moo lit up, quickly signaling the waiter to add a chair beside them. Marco, sit next to Andy, Mrs. Moo said warmly, placing the chair beside Zoe. On Zoe's other side, a little girl, her niece, not even 10, sat quietly. Beside her, Gabriel froze, his expression darkening as he saw me. Zoe's eyes narrowed. Who is this? Why are you bringing an outsider to our family gathering? An older woman beside Gabriel, likely his mother, spoke, her tone dripping with passive aggression. Before Zoe could respond, her mother gently patted my hand, smiling reassuringly. He's not an outsider, she said. This is my son-in-law, Marco. Oh, so he's Zoe's boyfriend. She laughed lightly, strained, then added, Young man, you're really strict. Zoe can't even have dinner with her parents without you chasing after her. I force a smile, raising an eyebrow at Gabriel. Auntie, you misunderstand. Isn't it your son who told me tonight was about discussing my girlfriend's marriage with him? I couldn't let Zoe be taken advantage of, could I? Mr. and Mrs. Moo turned to Gabriel, surprise flashing across their faces. What marriage discussion? Gabriel stammered, knocking over his water glass in panic. I don't know anything about that. Mrs. Moo's expression hardened. Gabriel, Zoe and Marco's marriage is our business. We don't need you concerning yourself with it. I really don't know what Mr. Marco is talking about, Gabriel mumbled, standing hastily. His nervousness shifted into feigned grievance. Annie, last time I meant well, but messed up. Mr. Marco has a bias against me. But does he really have to slander me like this? He added a couple of fake sobs for effect. His mother immediately pulled him into her arms, glaring at me. Gabriel was only worried that Zoe didn't know how to keep her distance from other men and might upset her boyfriend. That's why he acted that way. Then she delivered the final blow, her eyes sharp and unyielding. Mr. Marco, it's one thing that you showed up uninvited, but to target our Gabriel like this, Gabriel grew up with Zoe. If he truly wanted to take her from you, do you really think you'd stand a chance? I was momentarily speechless. I had already suspected that Gabriel's mother wasn't exactly reasonable, but I hadn't expected her to say something so brazen. The strongest reaction, however, came from Zoe. She practically leapt to her feet, stepping protectively in front of me. And Marco didn't show up uninvited. He's my boyfriend. I told him to come. And as for me and Gabriel, there has never been anything between us. I've never liked him, and there has never been any place for Gabriel in my relationship with my boyfriend. Her words left the other side with no face to save. Gabriel's entire family fell silent, their expressions darkening. From his mother's arms, Gabriel lifted his head to glance at Zoe, a glance heavy with emotion, aggrieved yet theatrically enduring, like some poor soul abandoned by the one they loved. The tension in the private room thickened. What is this? We're supposed to be having a nice meal together. Why all the arguing? Gabriel's father stood up quickly, gently pushing his wife and son back into their seats. Since we're all gathered here, let's keep things cheerful. No need to make it unpleasant, right? He raised his glass to Mr. Moo. Mr. Moo hadn't spoken all this time, but his expression betrayed his displeasure. Still, he clinked glasses politely. Zoe, and I chose not to press the matter further. She had made her stance crystal clear, but that didn't stop the others from stirring. The earlier tension made the meal awkward, and the only person enjoying herself was Zoe's little niece, quietly smiling beside her. Just as the atmosphere began to ease, Gabriel's mother chuckled softly. Time really flies. Zoe and Gabriel have grown up so much. I still remember how they used to play together as kids. Even Mr. and Mrs. Moo softened slightly, sharing a brief sigh over how fast time had passed. But then she added, almost absent-mindedly, I still remember they even had a childhood engagement. Zoe always said she'd marry Gabriel when she grew up. She suddenly realized she might have said too much and turned to me with a smile. Mr. Marco, don't take it the wrong way. I was just reminiscing. People don't make those kind of childhood pacts anymore, and we all know it won't affect you too. I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. She claimed it wouldn't affect us, yet she had just brought up a so-called childhood engagement. Zoe's reaction was instantaneous. Andy, you must be mistaken. I never said I wanted to marry him. You always said Gabriel was weak, and that I needed to protect him. Honestly, how ridiculous is that, asking a girl to protect a grown man? Zoe's eyes flashed, remembering another childhood grievance. And because of that, all the treats my parents gave me ended up being taken by you for Gabriel. I nearly burst out laughing, while across the table, Gabriel's mother's smile froze completely. She tried to respond, but Zoe's mother interjected with calm politeness. Oh, about that childhood pact, there was some talk, yes. But back then, it was always your family saying the two kids were well matched. We never agreed to it. Zoe spun to me, disbelief written across her face. Marco, I told you I have nothing to do with him. Gabriel's tears began streaming down his face. He looked at Mrs. Moo, voice trembling. Annie, do you not like me anymore? You used to say you liked me very much, that you'd be happy for me to be your son-in-law. This man, truly shameless. Mrs. Moo smiled, took my hand gently, and said firmly, I did say that, but that was only my wish. It doesn't mean Zoe wanted it. Now that Zoe has chosen Marco, my son-in-law is Marco. Her words landed like a slap across Gabriel's family. His parents looked ready to argue, but Mr. Moo interjected smoothly. Gabriel, sister-in-law. Feelings between children are not for parents to interfere in. Zoe and Marco are doing well, and we like Marco very much. Then he glanced at Gabriel. We watched you grow up. You're a good young man, but you're not suited for Zoe. I'll introduce you to someone better in the future. He raised his glass and drank, leaving Gabriel's father no choice but to toast back. Even Gabriel's mother didn't dare press further, forcing a polite smile as she sat down. Yet Gabriel's large, watery eyes stayed locked on Zoe. Do you really not like me? I don't believe it. Zoe, stunned, replied simply, Of course I don't like you. What's there not to believe? Gabriel, undeterred, pressed further. If you didn't like me, why did you always help me when we were kids? In elementary school, when that chubby boy at our desk bullied me, you beat him up for me. Zoe's expression softened, a wry smile forming. That's because if I didn't help you, you'd go home and cry to your mother, saying I stood by and watched you get bullied. Then your mother would come to mind and nag her, and my mother would scold me. Zoe said, her voice sharp with frustration. Do you know how much it hurt when that chubby boy hit people? I didn't want to fight him at all. Gabriel blinked, stunned, clearly not expecting her honesty. Still unwilling to give up, he pressed on. Then what about 7th grade, when a girl gave me a love letter and you beat her up? I glanced at Zoe in surprise, but she grabbed my hand, her grip firm, her fury barely contained. You rejected that girl and told her you liked me, so she came to pick a fight with me. I didn't want to fight her. She broke one of my ribs. Even I had to admit, Gabriel looked embarrassed now. Yet he didn't relent. Then why, when I came back this time, did you immediately arrange for me to join your company and make me your assistant? I heard I'm the only parachute assistant in the whole company. Zoe pressed a hand to her forehead, her voice rising with every word. That's because you went to my dad saying you hadn't found a suitable job yet. My dad, being kind, let you join the company. And you were my assistant. You were the assistant to the chief assistant. It was a cushy position meant to keep you from interfering with my work. And yet, you nearly made me lose several clients. Her anger hit a peak, her words slicing through the room. Gabriel, can you please just get out of my life? Gabriel bolted, covering his face as he ran. After the meal, I turned to Mr. and Mrs. Moo, feeling awkward. Uncle Annie, I'm sorry. I ruined your dinner. Mrs. Moo shook her head, dismissing my concerns. It's fine. In fact, I should thank you for letting us see that boy's true colors. He used to be such a good kid. How did he turn out like this? Zoe muttered under her breath. He was never that good. I chuckled quietly. Once I realized that Mr. and Mrs. Moo weren't upset, a wave of relief washed over me. I didn't see Gabriel for a while, but his WeChat moments were relentless, overflowing with melodramatic, saccharine posts, sentimental quotes, so sugary they made my teeth ache. He even shared childhood photos of himself with Zoe, cropping out everything else so she was the sole focus. I knew he was trying to get a reaction from me, but since I didn't take the bait, he had no way to escalate things. Unexpectedly, he became a minor internet celebrity. His good looks and penchant for singing love songs gained him a small following. His updates now alternated between sentimental musings and clips from his live streams, accompanied by his fans' words of encouragement. It seemed he was finally focusing on building career, a relief for both Zoe and me. After his last stunt, Zoe's parents decided our wedding should be arranged sooner, leaving no space for anyone like Gabriel to meddle. My parents were happy with Zoe and had no objections. With Zoe's urging, we set our engagement date quickly. Everyone busied themselves with preparations, except me, who mostly fretted over banquet food. Everything seemed perfect. Until a few days before the engagement, the internet exploded with a rumor. The CEO of a listed company had abandoned her childhood sweetheart for a mistress and was getting engaged. Our names and photos were plastered across every headline. Society's disdain toward homewreckers was intense, and I bore the brunt of it. My old, cringe-worthy emo posts were dug up and used against me. I was stunned. When Zoe found out, she called immediately. "Marco, don't worry. I'll handle this. It won't affect our engagement. Don't let the online comments get to you." I reassured her, but I couldn't ignore it. I investigated. The so-called childhood sweetheart was obviously Gabriel. But had he been spreading the rumors? After checking, I realized it was more complicated. Gabriel had become a small but popular influencer. He hadn't explicitly claimed to be Zoe's childhood sweetheart. Instead, during a live stream the night before, he let several accidental slip-ups escape, eyes reddening as he seemed overcome with emotion. Viewers noticed and asked what was wrong. He brushed away a tear, trying to look strong. "It's nothing, just that my ex-girlfriend is getting engaged soon. Hurts a little, but it's okay, babies. I'll get stronger." Then he started singing a breakup song, dripping with implication. That single line, "my ex-girlfriend is getting engaged soon," was enough. Netizens immediately interpreted it to mean a cheating mistress was involved. And how could his fans tolerate their idol being wronged? They launched a justice mission to find the so-called mistress and her fiancé. Though Gabriel never named names, his fans pieced together Zoe's identity from his past posts and social media hints. And of course, they found me too. A small rumor exploded into a wildfire when people learned Zoe was the CEO of a listed company. Her company's stock even dipped under pressure. The twist? Gabriel had never explicitly defamed us. Every word was vague, indirect. His fans did all the digging. And whenever the situation escalated, he'd wipe away a tear and say, "Forget it. Don't disturb other people's lives." On the surface, it appeared harmless, but it made taking legal action nearly impossible. This time, the problem wasn't going to be easy to solve. Zoe first tried using the company's official account to post a clarification, but it was like shouting into the void. Netizens only believed what they wanted to believe. Watching her juggle the company crisis while still taking the time to check in on me made my heart ache. She had built this company from scratch, pouring her soul into it, and now it was being dragged through the mud. I could see how heavy it weighed on her. Then, unexpectedly, the tide began to turn. A shaky video of that dinner at Bayou's private room leaked online. The footage wasn't perfect, but it captured everything clearly. Zoe's voice cut through the noise, sharp and decisive, stating unequivocally that she had never liked Gabriel. Meanwhile, Gabriel and his mother's manipulative, pretentious remarks only served to disgust viewers. Especially that moment where Gabriel tearfully asked why Zoe had helped him as a child, and she fired back with blunt, unflinching honesty. Overnight, the internet dubbed him a delusional, mediocre man. Again, comments flew. "Wait, there was never a mistress? This guy imagined the whole thing? President Moo's childhood sounds miserable. This mother-son duo really exploited her." Gabriel's social media became a battlefield. He tried to erase posts, delete comments, even hide them. But the story had taken on a life of its own. Public opinion had shifted, and there was no turning back. I called Zoe immediately. She laughed on the other end, a hint of pride in her voice. "We have my niece to thank, the one sitting next to you that day." She started recording instinctively when she saw the Han family's faces change. Didn't expect it would actually come in handy. I was speechless. "She's just a kid. How could she be that sharp?" Zoe disagreed. "Never underestimate children. They're smarter than you think. We owe her for helping us turn this around." With public opinion firmly in our favor, Gabriel's side crumbled. He tried to suppress the trending buzz, but the story of a pretentious coquette being exposed was too viral to stop. I heard he even had to endure his father showing up at Zoe's house to apologize, only to be thrown out by Mr. Moo, who pointed and barked, "Han, do you take me for a fool? Because of our old friendship, I helped you come back and develop your career. And this is how your family treats my daughter?" With no other options, Gabriel came to me, requesting a meeting at a cafe. I agreed, thinking it would be best to settle this once and for all. When I arrived, he looked haggard, eyes slightly red, as if he were genuinely remorseful. About the stuff online, I'm sorry. I'm here to apologize. He even stood to bow. I simply smiled without replying. He hesitated, then sat back down. I wanted to apologize, but also I don't want you to be deceived. Do you really believe everything Zoe said? That there's nothing between us? He pulled out a stack of old photographs I'd never seen before. 2 children, holding hands, grinning at the camera. In one, the little girl kissed the little boy on the cheek, both radiant. I never released these because I didn't want to hurt you, but you can see how close we were. She just refuses to admit it now. I flipped through them, one by one, growing angrier with each image. Finally, I slammed the stack onto the table. Gabriel, do you take me for an idiot? His shock was obvious. You're trying to use photos from when we were kids to drive a wedge between us? We were what, a few years old? What could we possibly have understood? I stared at him, incredulous. And yet you call it being childhood sweethearts? Completely different from Zoe saying she never liked you. Don't you see she's lying to you? His expression twisted, a mix of sadness and warning. I'm doing this for you. I laughed, bitter and sharp. Then I pointed toward a girl at the next table, holding her phone like she was taking selfies, but her eyes locked on us. Let me guess. You've had a bad run online. So you came to me to expose my girlfriend's lies, hoping I'd join you in righteous outrage. And your friend here would record the whole thing to post online, pinning it all on Zoe. Am I right? Gabriel's eyes went wide. How do I know? I snorted. If you'd used even half a brain, you wouldn't have come up with something this stupid. Those old photos didn't mean a thing to me. Want to see some of my childhood pictures with the girl next door? I walked over to the girl, sitting next to us. By now, she was sweating bullets, her hands trembling over her phone. I glanced at the screen. She was live streaming, and the comments were a storm of support, blasting Gabriel for his sneaky schemes and praising me for seeing through him. At first, I hadn't realized just how calculated Gabriel's plan had been. I honestly thought he was trying to help Marco. But now, watching the chaos unfold online, I understood it had all been part of his shameless plot. The girl ended the live stream quickly, flustered by the intensity of the comments. Then, the cafe doors burst open. Zoe came rushing in, and without hesitation, she wrapped me in a tight embrace. Don't you dare believe him, she said, her voice a mixture of anger and tenderness. Those photos were taken only because his mother coaxed me into it. I was too young to understand anything. Her words tumbled out in a rush, her anxiety still lingering from seeing the live stream. I nodded, pressing a soft kiss to her lips. Relax. I never believed him in the first place. Her tense expression melted into a warm, relieved smile. But then, she turned and saw Gabriel. Her face darkened again. Gabriel, if you dare try to come between us again, don't blame the Moo family for showing no mercy. Without another glance at him, she pulled me toward the door, ignoring his tearful protests. Afterwards, Zoe had the company issue a new statement, this time leaving no room for ambiguity. Gabriel's actions were laid out in full, including the incident where he stole her phone and ended up at the police station. Mr. Moo personally apologized to me, explaining that he had initially believed Gabriel's family call, thinking he genuinely wanted to help. Zoe, however, had made it clear that Gabriel's interference crossed a line. By the end of it, even normally stoic Mr. Moo looked slightly awkward. Marco, he said, don't worry. You're the son-in-law our family has chosen. We won't let anyone bully you. I will never have anything to do with Gabriel's family again. Then, as a concerned, he added, and from now on, if you ever feel wronged, speak up like you did this time. Don't bottle it up until your heart breaks. Zoe finding the right partner wasn't easy. Our engagement day arrived swiftly. Since it was only the engagement, we kept it small, just a few close family and friends. But on the way to the hotel, I was suddenly accidentally hit by someone. It was Gabriel, The same man who had been roasted online recently. He had posted a shameless apology video, pretending innocence and shifting all the blame onto Zoe. He'd been scolded relentlessly and had vanished from the internet. Yet here he was, lying on the ground in front of my car, pale and haggard. When he saw me, it was as if he'd found his greatest enemy. He gritted his teeth, forcing back his anger. "Marco, can't you just let my family go?" he pleaded, tears and snot streaking his face as real desperation replaced his earlier theatrical act. "Because of you, the Moo family is targeting us. Our business is on the verge of collapse. We're almost bankrupt. How can you be so heartless?" I stayed silent, cold and unyielding. "Are you getting up or not?" I asked. "Not unless you make the Moo family leave us alone and have Zoe invest in our family. Otherwise, I'm not getting up. And forget about your engagement today." This time, his mind wasn't on romance or revenge. It was all about saving his family. I had no idea what he meant by the Moo family targeting the Han family, and I had never involved myself in such matters. Just as I frowned, preparing to call Zoe, my father stepped out of the car. "Dad? Why are you—" He shook his head and walked toward Gabriel, his face calm, his words cutting. "Young man, your family's bankruptcy has nothing to do with the Moo family. Back when your family moved north, things were fine at first, but due to your father's mismanagement, you lost everything. You've been barely holding on, and now you've finally reached the end of the rope. That's why you came here. You want to make a comeback. Set your sights on the Moo family. We gave you plenty of help, but you got greedy. You targeted Zoe, even knowing she was with my son, trying to seduce her and wreck their relationship." Gabriel screamed, shaking his head in panic. "It's not true. It's not true. I really like Zoe. We've been childhood sweethearts since we were little." But my father didn't stop. He leaned in, his voice low and sharp, carrying a warning that could cut through steel. "You'd better get out of the way right now. Otherwise, if that Wong family from the Northeast, the one you conned, finds out where you are, do you think they won't come looking? And tell me, do you think there's anyone left who would protect the Han family?" My father's words carried the weight of experience, the kind that only decades in the cutthroat business world could forge. Gabriel, young and reckless, froze. Panic twisted his features as he stumbled backward, blurting, "Don't tell them! Don't tell them!" "Then you better not make my son late for his engagement ceremony," my father said, his tone calm but unforgiving, before guiding me back into the car. Once inside, curiosity got the better of me. "How did you know all of that?" He snorted, a faint reproach in his eyes. "My son's been bullied. What, you think I wouldn't react?" It took several promises and a few coaxing questions before he finally explained. During the height of the online scandal, while everyone else was panicking about the public uproar, he had quietly investigated the Han family's background. That's when he discovered the truth. They had gone bankrupt years ago in the North, leaving plenty of enemies in their wake. Chief among them was the Wong family. The staged accident had been a simple matter once he knew what was at stake, and our engagement ceremony went off without a hitch. Even after the official engagement, Zoe remained on edge, unable to truly relax until the wedding day arrived. She had been reading too many of those regretful husband web novels, and every few days dragged me off for checkups, as though she feared I might suddenly drop dead like the tragic heroes in those stories. I lightly smacked her on the head. "Can you not jinx me like that?" She rubbed her head sheepishly, letting out a small laugh. "Okay, I'll think good thoughts. My husband will live a long, healthy life." The next time I saw Gabriel was at a business reception. Zoe was immersed in discussions with company presidents, leaving me to wander the room in search of a place to sit. And there he was, dressed sharply, but with exhaustion written all over his face. When his eyes met mine, a flicker of anger crossed them, but this time he didn't dare approach. The moment I took a seat across from him, his composure wavered, and he began to rise, looking for a way out. I was just starting to wonder what he was up to when a bald man, likely in his 50s, appeared, striding toward Gabriel. The instant Gabriel saw him, panic overtook him completely. The man grabbed Gabriel's arm and pulled him aside with no mercy. That's someone from the Wong family. Zoe's voice whispered beside me. I hadn't even noticed her come over. Remember my father's warning. It was clear the Wongs had indeed come for him. And I had to admit, my father's quiet orchestration had made it happen. Some people should really learn not to be greedy. Take me. For example, I've never been greedy. I don't even mind that Zoe is a little over the top, lost in her ridiculous, melodramatic, abusive romance novels.